Hello, my name is AJ Goldsby. I'm a life master from Pensacola, Florida, and I wanted to bring you today the first game of the Anand Carlsen World Championship match. Well, actually, you should say Carlsen-Anand because uh, Magnus Carlsen is the current world champion. He's from Norway, and everyone who's into chess pretty much knows that. I'm not going to delve into too many side facts about this game. This match almost didn't happen. A lot of players, both the challenger and the world champion, didn't like the venue of Sochi, Russia. But eventually, it was agreed upon, and after almost not happening, this world championship match finally came about. And without any further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and jump into the game. This is game one. This was played on the 8th of November, 2014. Anand is white, and Magnus Carlsen is black. D4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, d5. Just very quickly, Anand was for many years, primarily a king pawn player, and he's converted to queen pawn recently, and I believe he's doing this in order to adapt or to change his style. But anyway, Carlsen's already sprung a surprise. He's playing the Grunfeld, and I'm not sure if Anand did or did not have anything prepared or wasn't willing to get into a theoretical duel in the very first game. So he plays a line that's I think it's inferior or somewhat passive, but the main idea here is that he's trying to avoid any of Carlsen's opening preparation. C takes d5, knight takes d5, bishop d2. Like I said, that's probably an inferior line, but the main idea here is basically just that, that it's good enough for equality and it avoids any theoretical, surprises. Knight, bishop g7, e4, knight takes c3, bishop takes c3. This is one of the main ideas of this bishop d2 line. The idea is this bishop on c3 pretty much will nullify the pressure of this dark squared bishop. In fact, a lot of times white can just play d5 and exchange off the dark squared bishops, and that pretty much takes care of this very dangerous bishop on c3. I think the line is good enough for equality, but I don't think it's any kind of attempt to gain an advantage at all. Black castles, white plays queen d2, knight c6. Both sides just pretty much develop their pieces fairly quickly. Knight f3. Carlsen actually stopped and thought here for about 15 minutes. You can speculate what he was thinking about this point, but I think he's just trying to find the very best moves. Bishop g4, that's a very active move. And black's already threatening to get the better game. He's threatening to take here and maybe play a blockade kind of position. And there was a game, Mosinko Nepomniachtchi, that was actually Nepomniachtchi actually won that, and that was in August of this year. So anyway, d5, bishop takes f3, bishop takes g7. That's already a novelty according to the ChessBase website. And the idea is again to exchange off the pressure, and I pretty much agree with that. And also too, I'm running Deep Fritz in the background, and I think Deep Fritz also agrees with that move. It likes bishop takes g7 here. King takes g7, g takes f3, knight e5, white castles. Black can't drop the pawn here. I know there's a beginner might say, oh, black can just pick the pawn, but knight takes pawn is answered by queen c3 check, and the black king and the pawn goes. So, and now black plays c6. And here Anand has several choices here. He chooses to play. He could play f4, which was very interesting. That's the first choice of Fritz, and also queen c3 is also very good. So Anand goes with basically a line here. He goes with queen c3, which is the safest move, just pitting on the long diagonal. And the whole idea here is if black plays a simple move like, say, queen d6, then f4 just wins the knight because of the pin on the diagonal. This forces black to kind of slightly weaken his position with f6. And now Anand plays bishop h3, and Carlsen plays c takes d5 on move 15. And now Anand can take with his rook and have maybe a fairly equal position, but he plays e takes d5. He completely ruins his structure. But the whole idea here is that white has a tremendous bind on this game. On the game, his king can hide on b1. The rook can, black can't challenge the c file as long as his bishop controls c8. So basically white has a bind. He can play moves like f4, f5 and try to attack black's position. So basically white's getting something of a bind. His pawn structure is absolutely horrible. You wouldn't want to exchange into a king and pawn ending in this position, because any king and pawn ending would just probably be utterly lost. So white's got to keep pieces on, and he's got to keep the pressure on. Knight f7, f4, queen d6, queen d4. Just a total. I'm not going to go into analyzing too much the moves. I will comment here and there if I see anything that pops up that's really really interesting or something to look at. Rad8, bishop e6. That's a nice outpost for that bishop. Queen b6. Now here, absolutely, I think that Anand should have exchanged queens and gone into the endgame, and Fritz agrees with that. Deep Fritz also likes queen takes b6, and even awards white a slight edge. But I think it's certainly the whole idea is that if a rook can penetrate the c7 and get to the 7th rank, white could possibly even double on the 7th rank, because black can't he can't challenge the file. But here Anand goes queen d2, and the commentator for the ChessBase website awarded that a dubious. I don't know if it's completely dubious. I mean, queen d2 is playable, but it certainly wasn't the strongest continuation there. Rook d6, 21, rhe1. White has a very nice position. Knight d8, f5, knight takes e6, rook takes e6. White's bind on the e6 square and his pressure on the on the file on the central squares and against the backward king pawn pretty much ensure that white's not going to lose this game, I think, at this point. And right now the engine pretty much judges this position as being more or less equal here at this point. So it's not too bad for either side here. But I'm just moving the engine over so I can see it a little bit better. It does the engine does award white a slight advantage here at this point, but I don't think it's anything terminal or anything like that. I mean, it's not so great that that it's overwhelming in magnitude. But anyway, just trying to give you some ideas here. Going back to the game, black played queen b6, white played queen d2, rook d6, rhe1, knight d8, f5, knight takes e6, rook takes e6. And maybe black is slightly better. The engine seems to think that white has about almost half a pawn better, 30 to 41/100ths of a pawn better. But I think that's maybe a little optimistic. White has a lot of play, so it's going to be tough for black to win this game. Queen c7 check. All this though shows that black should have definitely, I mean rather white, back when he first played queen b6, Anand should have exchanged the queens and gotten the queens off the board. King b1, rook c8. That was a bad move here. Just simply rfd8 doubling on the d file seemed like a very logical move, and that's the first choice, or exchanging on e6. Both of those moves are the top choices of Deep Fritz 14, which I'm running in the background. Rook c8, that move was also given a dubious or inferior mark by Grandmaster Ramirez Alvarez for annotating for the ChessBase website. I don't know if I completely agree with that. Certainly rook d8 or rook takes e6 was probably a slightly stronger move. White plays rook e1, rook takes e6, rook takes e6, rook d8, queen to e3, threatening the capture on e7 check, rook d7, and now white just plays d6, and this is a nice little tactic. Black's got to recapture, and now the d pawns get traded off. Queen d4. Now there's the solid threat against f6, and so black has to go back and guard that square. He can't let the f6 pawn drop, and now pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, rook takes d6, and now probably the game, according to a couple of engines, Houdini and Fritz, white has maybe as many as 25/100ths of a pawn of advantage, but I think it's all pretty much meaningless. I seriously doubt either side could win this game at this point. a6, a3, queen a5, f4, queen h5, queen d2, queen c5, rook d5, queen c4, 36 rook d7, queen c6. again, they're just jockeying around for position. There is one move that I will point out to you that will show their possibility of winning chances for black if black had played it. I don't go with their analysis. We'll have to get there first, though. It's kind of jumping the gun a little bit here, but let's go ahead and get there. That is an interesting point in the game. Rook d6, queen e4, check, king a2, rook e7, queen c1, a5, queen f1, a4. Black's definitely gotten a bind here. Rook d1, queen c2, rook d4. And now I think this is the critical position here. This is the point where black could have played 42 rook e3. This was a very powerful move. There's a very big tactical threat here. The threat is simply rook takes pawn check. You can't take with a pawn. The king would have to take, and then queen b3 would be checkmate. So this is a really tough position. I think white holds the balance. I spent several hours the other night analyzing this game, and it seems to me that their analysis is somewhat flawed because there are several places where the engine picks a different move than what they give. But anyway, it was simply with the idea of rook to d7 check and rook takes b7, I think that white can hold the balance, but it might take days of analysis, and I'm really not just interested in investing that kind of energy to absolutely find the forced win or find the forced draw. I would say from the engine's evaluations at this point, the fact that it's not showing plus minus unless there's a win buried in there that's all forced and 20 moves deep, and I don't tend to trust those kind of lines. But anyway, enough said about that. Rook e3 would have given black real winning chances, and Alejandro Ramirez, Grandmaster Alejandro Ramirez Alvarez for the ChessBase website. You can go to their website and just download the PGN file, but he investigates that line very deeply. But in the actual game, black played rook e2, and now rook b4, and now white's got the first rank guarded. He's got the key b3 and b2 squares guarded, and there's threats against the b6 pawn. There's a sneaky little move that I don't think they even pointed out here. Black played b5 here. Black's last move was he played 43 b5. And I think that was a slight error. The correct move, according to the engines, Houdini and Fritz, was to play b6. The idea is to, maybe allow queen c4 check and queen e4, and there's threats on the first rank there. So and also that with the queen on e4, that would stop a rook b7 check. So that was a very sneaky idea. b6 would have kept the game alive. According to the engines, after b5, now the engine's flatline again, back at just dead equality. I mean, it's only a few 100ths of a points, and it's completely flatlined, and all the engines agree that this is totally drawn game now. Now queen h1, give that move an exclam. White has threats of perpetual. The idea is just queen zipping back and forth. Rook e7, queen d5, rook e1. Now black's trying to threaten a checkmate on the first rank, but white has a simple perpetual. Queen d7 check, king h6, queen h3 check, king g7, queen d7 check, and here they agreed to a draw. This is the 48th move, I believe, for white, and at this point the game was abandoned as a draw. Both players agreed to a draw. There were some possibilities of a possible win in there. Definitely Anand ruined his structure for a bind and probably didn't follow it up correctly. And both sides missed opportunities there, I think, in the first round to maybe make something happen. But anyway, that pretty much concludes my video. I didn't want to go too long on this because I wanted my video mainly to reach the average chess audience. If you're a chess expert or a really advanced chess player, probably you'd prefer a video by Danny King or someone like that, someone who's going to deeply explore the position and get into the analysis. But I'm not going to do that. I just wanted to cut the video short at this point. And I've pretty much said all I wanted to say of the game. It was an interesting game. I do think nerves played a slight part in the game. And both sides maybe missed the best continuation at certain points. And I think the analysis pretty much shows that no matter who you are. Well, thank you for watching my video. If you like my videos and would like to contribute to my videos and making great web pages, please go to my the PayPal website, www.paypal.com, and make a contribution there under my email address, which is LifeMasterAJ@yahoo.com. Thank you for watching my video, and have a great day.